What if the person who went out of their way to make your life miserable suddenly faced consequences they couldn't escape? This story isn't just about revenge. It's about resilience, patience, and delivering justice in the most unexpected way. Stay with us to see how one man turned harassment into a satisfying resolution and transformed an entire community in the process. Marcus was a hard-working man with one simple dream: to own a peaceful home where he could relax after years of saving and sacrifice. When he finally found the perfect house, nestled in a quiet, tree-lined neighborhood, it felt like his hard work had paid off. Everything seemed idyllic, from the friendly neighbors to the well-maintained lawns. But there was one person who didn't share his excitement: Mrs. Harper, his next-door neighbor. From the moment Marcus moved in, Mrs. Harper made her disapproval painfully clear. What began as cold stares and muttered remarks quickly turned into blatant harassment. Trash appeared on his lawn, police were called for no reason, and hateful notes were left on his door. What Mrs. Harper didn't know, however, was that Marcus wasn't one to give up easily. Armed with patience, strategy, and an unshakable determination, he turned the tables in a way no one saw coming. Marcus had always believed that hard work and perseverance paid off, and buying his dream home was the proof. He had spent years saving and planning, imagining the joy of living in a peaceful, welcoming neighborhood. The house itself was perfect, a cozy home nestled in a quiet cul-de-sac with tree-lined streets and friendly neighbors. At least that's what he thought when he first arrived. From the beginning, Marcus's next-door neighbor, Mrs. Harper, made it clear she didn't think he belonged. Mrs. Harper was known for her overbearing personality and self-appointed role as the gatekeeper of the neighborhood. She had lived there for over 2 decades and believed it was her right to decide who was fit to live nearby. At first, her disapproval was subtle. She would glare at Marcus as he moved in, muttering comments like, "Some people just don't understand what this neighborhood is about." Marcus tried to brush it off, thinking she might come around with time, but her behavior quickly escalated. One morning, Marcus found a note taped to his door. "People like you don't belong here. Leave now." It wasn't long before trash started appearing on his lawn, including bottles and fast food wrappers. When Marcus installed security cameras, he spotted Mrs. Harper tossing the garbage herself. She didn't stop there. Mrs. Harper began calling the police, accusing Marcus of suspicious activity or trespassing on his own property. The officers saw through her lies but couldn't stop the harassment. Marcus's once perfect dream turned into a nightmare. Despite the stress, Marcus stayed calm. He realized that reacting emotionally wouldn't solve anything. Instead, he began planning, documenting every incident. This wasn't over. He would make sure of that. Marcus knew that confronting Mrs. Harper head-on would only escalate the situation. She thrived on conflict, and he refused to give her the satisfaction. Instead, he decided to channel his energy into something more effective: preparation. Marcus began documenting every instance of harassment. He kept every note, saved footage from his security cameras, and logged the dates and details of her false police reports. He understood that the only way to fight this battle was with facts and evidence. One night, while reviewing footage from his security cameras, Marcus noticed something unusual about Mrs. Harper's routine. Every morning, she left her house and returned hours later with stacks of papers. Her behavior piqued his curiosity, so he started digging deeper into public records. What he discovered shocked him. Mrs. Harper's house was in pre-foreclosure. She was months behind on her mortgage payments, and the bank had already started the process of repossession. Realizing the opportunity, Marcus reached out to the bank managing her mortgage. He learned that the property would soon be listed for sale. Acting quickly, Marcus used his real estate connections to get ahead of other buyers. Within days, his offer was accepted, and he became the legal owner of Mrs. Harper's house, all without her knowledge. This wasn't about revenge for Marcus. It was about reclaiming his peace of mind and creating a better environment for himself and his neighbors. By remaining calm and planning carefully, he turned Mrs. Harper's hostility into an opportunity. He didn't have to confront her or stoop to her level. The groundwork was laid, and soon enough she would have to face the consequences of her actions. Little did Mrs. Harper know, the house she had used as a weapon against Marcus would soon no longer be hers. The day of reckoning arrived on a warm Friday afternoon. Marcus was outside mowing his lawn, enjoying the satisfaction of a well-maintained yard, when a black sedan pulled into Mrs. Harper's driveway. Out stepped a man in a sharp suit, carrying a leather folder. Mrs. Harper, who had been watering her garden, looked up with a mix of curiosity and irritation. She walked toward the man, her hands on her hips. The man introduced himself as a representative of the bank. He handed Mrs. Harper a set of papers and explained that her property had been sold. Confused and visibly agitated, she asked, "What do you mean, sold?" "This is my house." Her voice grew louder as she flipped through the documents. Then came the question Marcus had been anticipating. Who bought it? The man glanced toward Marcus, who had stopped mowing and was leaning casually on his lawnmower, watching the scene unfold. Mrs. Harper's gaze followed, and when their eyes met, her face turned a deep shade of red. Realization dawned. She stormed over to Marcus, her voice trembling with rage. "How could you do this? You think you can just take my house?" she shouted. Marcus remained calm, his expression composed. "I didn't take anything from you," he replied evenly. "You made your choices and I made mine." For Marcus, it wasn't about vengeance. It was about setting boundaries and reclaiming his life. Mrs. Harper had spent months making his life miserable, but now the tables had turned. Neighbors peeked out from behind curtains, quietly reveling in the poetic justice of the moment. As Mrs. Harper sputtered in disbelief, Marcus simply returned to his mowing. Her reign of terror had come to an end, and the neighborhood would never be the same. With Mrs. Harper gone, a sense of calm swept through the neighborhood. For years, her presence had cast a shadow over the community. People had avoided her confrontational gaze and biting comments, preferring to keep their distance. Now, with her house vacant and her influence gone, neighbors started coming together in ways Marcus hadn't anticipated. The first major change came just days after Mrs. Harper moved out. Neighbors who had once exchanged only polite nods began introducing themselves to Marcus. An elderly woman from 2 houses down shared stories of how Mrs. Harper had berated her grandchildren for playing too loudly. A young couple revealed that they had considered moving because of her constant complaints about their flower beds. Inspired by their stories, Marcus decided to foster a sense of unity. He organized a neighborhood meeting at the local community center, encouraging everyone to share their concerns and ideas for improvement. To his surprise, nearly every household participated. The meeting sparked a series of initiatives, including the creation of a neighborhood garden. Together, they transformed an overgrown, unused lot into a lush space filled with vibrant flowers, vegetables, and fruit trees. Block parties also became a regular occurrence, bringing together families, retirees, and new residents. Music, laughter, and the aroma of home-cooked food filled the air. For the first time in years, the neighborhood felt like a true community. Marcus also formed a neighborhood watch program, ensuring everyone felt safe and supported. A sense of trust began to replace the isolation and fear that Mrs. Harper had cultivated. Her departure marked more than the end of her reign. It was the beginning of a stronger, more connected community. Marcus's journey hadn't just transformed his own life. It had brought hope and belonging to an entire neighborhood. Marcus's quiet determination and calculated actions didn't just impact his neighborhood. They created a ripple effect that reached far beyond the tree-lined streets where his story began. Word of his journey spread quickly. Neighbors shared their newfound sense of community with friends and family in other parts of the city, and soon, Marcus's name became synonymous with resilience and thoughtful leadership. Local newspapers picked up the story, framing it as a triumph of patience over conflict. Headlines like "Man Turns Hostility into Harmony, A Neighborhood's Transformation" highlighted Marcus's journey from victim to community builder. Interviews with residents revealed how his actions had inspired them to rethink their own approach to conflict resolution. One neighbor remarked, "Marcus showed us that you don't have to yell or fight back. Sometimes the best way to win is to outsmart the problem." The impact didn't stop there. Marcus was invited to speak at community events, where he shared his story and the strategies he used to address a toxic situation without resorting to negativity. His emphasis on documentation, legal channels, and fostering positivity struck a chord with audiences. Attendees left with practical tips and a renewed sense of hope for their own challenges. Other neighborhoods began to adopt his methods. Community gardens, neighborhood watch programs, and councils modeled after Marcus's initiatives began springing up across the city. In some areas, long-standing tensions were eased as neighbors worked together on shared projects. Marcus's actions proved that one person's commitment to change could inspire an entire network of communities to come together. Though he never sought recognition, Marcus's efforts left an indelible mark. His story became a blueprint for others, demonstrating that even in the face of adversity, transformation is possible when people choose to rise above hate and create something better. Marcus's journey offers a powerful reminder that resilience and strategy can overcome even the most challenging situations. When faced with Mrs. Harper's relentless hostility, Marcus chose a path not of retaliation, but of calm and calculated action. His ability to document her harassment, think ahead, and plan strategically turned a negative situation into an opportunity for growth and transformation. One critical lesson from Marcus's experience is the importance of keeping your emotions in check. Reacting impulsively might have played into Mrs. Harper's hands, but Marcus knew that a composed, methodical approach would ultimately serve him better. His choice to gather evidence and wait for the right moment ensured he acted from a position of strength. Marcus also showed how adversity can be a springboard for positive change. He didn't just address the immediate problem, he used it as a catalyst to improve his neighborhood. By organizing block parties, starting a community garden, and encouraging dialogue, he built trust and unity among his neighbors, creating a legacy far beyond resolving his conflict with Mrs. Harper. Most importantly, Marcus demonstrated the power of rising above negativity. As he put it, you don't need to fight fire with fire. Sometimes the best way forward is to let it burn itself out. If you found this story inspiring, don't forget to subscribe for more powerful tales. And check out our next video. You won't want to miss it.